The minimum down payment you're going to have to put down on your purchase is 5%. It's 5% up to 500,000, 10% on the balance above 500,000 up to $1 million, and if you do happen to buy a property that's over $1 million, the minimum down payment is 20% of the entire purchase price. I'm Tyrell Boake, a realtor in Kelowna, and on this channel, I help you navigate the real estate market and provide you with useful information so you can make informed decisions that make sense for you. In today's video, I put together a compilation of some of my favorite reels and shorts from over the past few months. Let me know in the comments down below which one's your favorite, or if you have any questions. And if you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks for watching. I know you're wondering when the right time to buy your next home is and are trying to time the market. I get it. And if you're like a lot of people, you're probably waiting for when rates come back down or are trying to time when prices and rates are in that perfect spot. But there's a chance that's going to cost you in the long run because a lot of people are doing just that. And as soon as rates come back down, those buyers will flood the market and prices will go back up again, costing you an even higher payment despite the lower rates. There's no perfect time to buy real estate, but if you're going to be in your next property for the medium to long term, getting in the market sooner than later to build equity will leave you better off. It'll never be the perfect time to buy, but time in the market is always better than timing the market. Some of you won't like to hear this, but your first home doesn't need to be your dream home or your forever home. In fact, in most cases, it's not going to be. It's called a starter home for a reason. Plus, your needs are probably going to change over the next 3 to 5 years anyways. Getting into the market into something you can afford that's maybe a little smaller as your first home and building equity sooner rather than later is important. Pay yourself instead of rent so you can build some equity and then you can buy your forever home. Most of us get used to the home that we grew up in and want that for ourselves, of course. But your parents probably didn't start with their dream home either. The interest rate in 1972 was over 7%. So if you waited then for interest rates to come down before you bought a home, you would have waited almost 30 years. And in that time, home prices quadrupled. So in theory, you could have had a home that was paid for completely because you would have had a 25 or 30-year amortization, and the value of your asset would have quadrupled. Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. Even in my market of Kelowna, with interest rates between 5 and 6%, the benchmark price of a home has gone up 3.8% from this time last year, and home prices have doubled in a decade. Don't wait to buy real estate and wait. We're going to have 4 choices when we get an offer on your home. You can accept it, you could counter it, you could reject it, or you could ignore it. If it's a good offer without too many conditions and you're okay with the closing dates and the price, we'll be able to accept it. If the offer needs a couple tweaks to be where you want to be, we'll send a counter offer to the buyer. If it's a bad offer or too much of a lowball and you feel like we're just too far apart with the buyer, we'll let them know that we're rejecting the offer and maybe they can try again. But as a last resort, you do have the option to just ignore the offer. But I know that you really want to sell your property, so we'll do everything that we can to explore those first 3 options first. Is your home getting the attention it deserves? If you've done a great job of preparing your home for sale, you've hired a real estate agent who's a marketing expert, and they've hired a professional photographer and videographer to do magazine-worthy videos and photos of your listing, there's only one other variable to consider, and that's the price. If your home is priced too high for the current market, none of these other things matter. A common misconception I get from home sellers is that they are worried that they will underprice their property when they put it up for sale or just list it too low. But I have some good news about that. You simply cannot underprice or undersell a property, especially if you're in a seller's market. If you happen to underprice a property when you put it on the market, you'll get a bunch of activity and many offers, and that will push the selling price up to where the market is willing to pay for it, and you'll still get market value. On the other hand though, you can definitely price your property too high. A common mistake buyers make when offering on a home is not anticipating a counteroffer. 90% of the time, the seller's not going to accept your initial offer, no matter how good it is. Most sellers want to go back and forth, and they feel that they need to win the negotiation. So as a buyer, you need to anticipate that this will happen, and remember that it's not personal, it's just part of the process. A good way to avoid disappointment and frustration is to plan ahead with your agent before submitting your initial offer so that you know what your next steps will be when you get that counter offer and ultimately how much you're willing to pay for that property if your initial offer is not accepted, and even figuring out what your walkaway price is. Two of the biggest mistakes I see home sellers making in this market are overpricing their home and ignoring market conditions. And I think those two things go hand in hand. If you're ignoring market conditions, you could be working with old data, and it would be easy to overprice your listing. In a buyer's market, for example, buyers have a lot of choice, and if you're overpriced, you aren't going to get many showings, if any at all, and you certainly aren't going to get any good offers. Sellers need to make sure they are priced for the current market conditions and not where they wish the market was if they want to have a successful sale. The first reason you shouldn't buy a home in 2024 is that you're not going to be in it for 3 to 5 years or maybe even longer. If you plan on being in your home only short term, it's probably not a good idea to buy. Long term, real estate appreciates over time on average, but in the short term, there's just too much volatility and uncertainty in the market. Fluctuations in the economy impact house prices, and you don't want to be in a situation where you have to sell and you possibly owe more on the home than you can sell it for, or where you have to sell it for significantly less than you paid. Plus, you have to factor in things like moving costs, legal costs, and transfer taxes. If your plan is to only own short term, you're most likely better off waiting. What's your communication style, and how often should I expect updates from you? See, communication in real estate and in business is key, but so are expectations. If you're the type of person that likes to get an update by phone every day, but your agent tends to update their clients once a week via email, that can cause some tension. But the opposite's also true. If you don't need to be updated every day and you just want to hear from your agent once a week unless an offer comes in or something pressing happens, but they're calling you every day to give you an update, that's not ideal either. You need to set these boundaries up front. One of the biggest complaints people have about real estate agents is they just don't hear from them enough. There's not enough communication. Asking this question up front can make sure that you and your agent are both on the same page. An important question you should ask your real estate agent before working with them is, how do you get paid? Now, there's different business models out there for how much a realtor will get paid, and it's all based on service levels. But the how a realtor gets paid is they don't get paid until you've bought your home and taken possession of it, or you've sold your home and the new buyer takes possession, and it's the deal that pays them. They get paid from the proceeds of the transaction, not out of your pocket.